and gentlemen, it has now all been set up, apparently so. We have 4 papers today under the title Science, Art, Life, so a very broad theme, and it's one of those panels where when I first read through all the abstracts I thought, oh, this is all really related, and then when I read through them again I thought, oh, this is all really disconnected, and then I thought, oh wow, this is going to be very exciting. So, we'll change the order a little bit because the third paper is going to be on YouTube and on Skype, so we'll do that last. But we will start, as in the program, with Alev Adil, who is a principal lecturer and artist in residence here at the University of Greenwich in the Department of Creative Professions and Digital Arts. The paper is titled Expanded Life Writing.
Hi. Could we turn out the lights, please? And could you start the PowerPoint? Today, I want to make an argument for the field of expanded life writing. I want to both explain and enact what I mean by expanded life writing. I want to indicate why the concept is useful now, how it helps us to reinterpret creative genealogies, how it brings avant-garde traditions and traditionary peripheral artists into play, and enables us to construct new forms of communication. The story begins with the mouth. Mouth to ear to mouth. And breath. The story begins with breath. Breath inhaled, exhaled. A breeze on the skin. The story begins with the spoken word, and words are a kind of music. Until writing comes along, there are no spaces between words that breathing does not fill. Until the ancient Greeks perfect an alphabet with vowels, even the written has no space between. The story begins with the telling and the technologies for this. The ruined palace that Simonides recreates through mnemonics rely on structure, are a virtual architecture. The Propian patterns and structure functions of the folktale, for example. They provide a map for the story, but don't mistake the map for the journey itself. The map provides directions, not depth. The function of the character, not their qualities or individuality, that is left to the teller, the mouth, the breath, and to the listener, the ear, the imagination. The music of the story, its Deleuzian repetitions and refrains, its set prologues, once upon a time in English, bir varmış, bir yokmuş in Turkish, once there was, once there wasn't. This is a different order of time, an impossible, anti-intuitive order of time. This is the time of Schrödinger's cat. Whereas everyday life is rational, Newtonian, story time is in the quantum realm. Story begins with the mouth, and then eventually becomes God, the omniscient narrator with the book. The book largely emerged from dreams, but it was written on stone, as well as paper scraps and scrolls. It was written with fire and blood and knives and ink. It was very precious, and it was illuminated. Then, after Gutenberg, eventually, every family could have one, and they wrote their names in it. And later, the people of the book came up with the novel, and the novel becomes God after Nietzsche kills God himself. God lives in his holy book, but he transcends media, being a story god who once lived with many other gods in mouths. Once the cinema became an abstract idea and an actual place you could go to, like the church, then that's where God moved to. He left the book. In the early years of the 20th century, the novel melted. It just oozed. It became a stream of consciousness. Mrs. Dalloway and Molly Bloom liquefied the map of structure, gave us character as quality without character as function. Plot was drowned in the flow of sentience. The novel began to deconstruct itself long before the philosophers set about the task. Just as Nietzsche had murdered God, so Barthes murdered the author as a god. Barthes, ever the Dionysian, gave the reader the chance to be his own god, to deconstruct and recreate multiple meanings instead of orthodox readings, to challenge the fundamentalism of the canon. Alas, most readers were not ready to be gods at all. Most readers turned out to be meek and mild, the slaves that Nietzsche had railed against. Since the novel no longer afforded them certainties, they turned away from it. Modernism heralded the end of the novel as the primary media of bourgeois culture. The imagined community of the mainstream abandoned literature, preferred to find that lost certainty in the cinema, in the immersive red velvet womb of Hollywood. Expanded cinema emerged in the 1970s to take cinema out of the cinematic apparatus, to defy God's need for omniscience, causality, chronology, clarity. After all, as Levi-Strauss reminds us, grammar, God is in grammar. Expanded writing is born at the death of the novel. Long live the undead novel! And the death of cinema. Long live the undead cinema! In the crucible of digital convergence, at the intersection of waxing and waning nomadic energy flows, it claims a field of writing practice analogous to that of expanded cinema, as a transformative space for poetics, which takes autobiographical practice off the page into new places, shared spaces, new creative interactions and dialogues, just as expanded cinema takes film out of the multiplex. In my research, I define this space through the work of a diverse body of artists, making work that explores the self and autobiography in a range of media and deploying diverging strategies. When their work is considered as a field of autobiographical practice, as practitioners of expanded life writing, artists such as Claude Cahun, Charlotte Salomon, Sevim Burak, Laurie Anderson, Mona Hartoum, Bracha Ettinger, Sophie Calle, Anne Carson, Francesca Woodman, Corinne Day, Tracy Emin, to name a few, offer a breadth of approaches, but there are also some consistent creative strategies. That constant slippage between media and disciplinary practices, and the production of works which often inhabits interstitial spaces between cultural practices. This presentation enacts that slippage between academic distance and performative intimacy in a multimedia poetics. The designation expanded life writing enables a remapping of a range of literary and art practitioners' autobiographical work in relation to each other, in order to trace the ways in which peripheral, mutable, and evanescent gender and cultural subjectivities, previously impossible to express, are brought into being and performed through modes of writing at the intersections of literature and memoir, text and image. I will now show a 5-minute extract of my own expanded life writing practice from my performance, Memory in the Dead Zone. Moving between different pasts, between Cyprus and a host of unnamed cities, this is both a multimedia retelling of the myth of Orpheus and Eurydice and an autobiographical performance which explores war, memory, and the performance of becoming Cypriot through interaction with a digitalized archive of poetry, myth, home movies, photographs, and remembered songs. Versions have been performed at venues including Side Streets Cultural Centre and the Artos Foundation in Cyprus, and Tate Britain in the UK. The next full performance will be at the National Maritime Museum just across the road on the 16th and 17th of October to coincide with the Memory and War exhibition there. And I'd be really happy to invite you to that. And now we'll look at a 5-minute extract from the performance.
Under the influence of the dark precursor is called epiphany. Repetition is essentially inscribed in need, becoming the future in the time of memory.
For the most part, they kept to themselves, twilight guests of the abandoned motel, where no rent could ever be charged or memories ever repaid. A moving target is harder to hit. That's the theory, the plan I've been working to. But what if you've already been shot? Well, still best to keep moving. And if the affected part is infected, then eat it. Eat your own shadow. Hard to stomach, but everything's at stake here. Somewhere in these intimate conjunctions of flesh and geometry, of memory, tenderness and desire, is a key to the vivid air, to that new time and space. Space exploration is a branch of applied geometry, with many affinities to pornography. We will move on to the towns and cities of the south, to the sleepwalking children in the parks, to the dreaming mothers and fathers embalmed in their former selves, waiting to be born again.
Repetition is never a historical fact, but rather a historical condition under which something new is effectively produced, becoming the future in a time of destiny.
In this demented time, outside the curve which gave to God, time unfolds instead of things unfolding within it. Time overturns the ground of memory. We produce something new only on condition that we repeat, once in the mode which constitutes the past, and once more in the present of metamorphosis. The absolutely new itself is nothing but repetition, this time by excess, the repetition of the future as eternal return. The claim of the present is precisely that it passes, flows away. The present exists, but the past alone insists. A scar is the sign not of past wounds, but of the present fact of having been wounded.
We produce something new only on condition that we repeat, once in the mode which constitutes the past, and once more in the present of metamorphosis.
Becoming Cypriot is a goddess who leaves on a wave on the sea. Becoming Cypriot is an angry father for a god, a tree for a daughter, a stone for a lover. We produce something new only on condition that we repeat, once in the mode which constitutes the past, and once more in the present of metamorphosis. Eternal return is not faith, but the truth of faith, and two believers cannot observe each other without laughing. Becoming Cyprus is the repetition of myths. Becoming Cyprus is amnesia. I let you call me Ariadne. No harm nor lie in that, my love. I let you call me Ariadne. But there's more, much more. I am the maze. I am the Minotaur.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Alex. I'm very honored to be here today, and thank you all for lending an ear. I'm a video artist, also doing a research degree at Central St. Martin's in Moving Image. So my methodology tends to shift towards kind of lateral thinking, which can present certain difficulties in academic context, but I believe it's a way to go. So what I'm going to give you today is a thought experiment I've been working on. Broadly, my research lies in human relationship with technology and its image in the public eye and how it can be changed and affected. And today I will only speak about our relationship to artificial intelligence. And to clarify the terms in the beginning, what I mean by artificial intelligence when I say it is the idea of conscious and thinking machine. So I will use the term artificial general intelligence, or AGI, or strong AI, or full AI, because artificial intelligence in itself lately has been defining algorithms and search engines, and that's definitely not conscious. So also needless to say, in a debate of whether the AGI is achievable or not, I'm on the optimistic side, and I'm very inspired by the idea of physicist, a Vincent professor at Oxford University, David Deutsch, who said that to achieve conscious machine, you need a breakthrough in philosophy, first of all. And philosophy it is. Technology is one of the conditions of modernity. Its power can make it unpredictable. And as Marshall Berman put it, to be modern is to find ourselves in an environment that promises us adventure, power, joy, growth, transformation of ourselves and the world, and at the same time that threatens to destroy everything we have and everything we know. Our culture has been producing works about that for a long time. Goethe's Faust, Huxley's Brave New World, Frankenstein, lots and lots of works and lots of masterpieces as well. AGI is the idea of technology taken to extreme. It's the point where we lose control over it. It's the ultimate loss of control. And the fear of unknown, what starts when we lose control over it, it's been very well exploited in our culture as well, especially in film industry. Metropolis, very well-worn example of Terminator. Also a small remark about why I'm using popular culture references. I think contemporary art has been very generous about expressing our modern fears of technology, but the medium, and it has been increasingly becoming the message itself. It's important to separate one from another. For example, in Ed Atkins' recent show in Serpentine, you could easily find an article about how this is about our virtual embodiments and the gap between our virtual bodies and our real bodies. But you could easily argue that This is about a general concept of artificial and real expressed through technology. So for the purposes of a 15-minute talk, it's more convenient to use popular culture references. And coming back to film industry, the recent sci-fi boom, it made place for films that allowed for a more contemplative view on technology, or at least better balanced maybe. Her, where a protagonist falls in love with artificial intelligence. Robocop, we all know that one. Transcendence, when the conscious is uploaded directly and the human becomes AI. Now, a very important point for my research that I need to highlight is all the representations of AGI in these examples of popular culture and in general, they've been given motivations or emotions similar to that of humans. And well, it's understandable that it is easy to feel the unknown in the machine, and it's as easy to anthropomorphize it and to empathize with that. But that's what good script writing requires. We need to incorporate the character into the script. I could only think of Hell 9000 or Isaac Asimov's books on robots as examples of a well-argumented inquiry, cultural inquiry into the idea of artificial intelligence. What is different in the image of artificial intelligence in my research is that it highlights that it's inherently different from us. And I'd like to quote, so basically it's the concept of Lacanian big other. The big other designates radical alterity, an otherness which transcends the illusory otherness of the imaginary, because it cannot be assimilated through identification. The other is thus both another subject in his radical alterity and unassimilable uniqueness, and also the symbolic order which mediates the relationship with that other subject. So it's seen as a being that is primarily and inherently not comprehensible by any human being. And this view, as exciting as it is, makes my research a self-defeating task, because I start with the premise that I will fail. But it also, I think, allows for maximum freedom and kind of lets us escape this Frankenstein complex that's been around for so long. So finally coming up to the experiment that I'd like to suggest. It's a hypothetical situation. It's a dystopia. And well, in light of Big Other of Lacan, I think it's also a catch-22 paradox. So let us imagine the world's end. An empty world, our world, but devoid of us. Let us be unrealistic and say the power stations are still running and the world is still essentially online. The horrors of our knowledge are all accessible. But the only living thing, living in quotes, is an artificial mind that had no experience or encounter with an actual human being, except for a remediated one through video footage, through audio recordings, or marble statues, as the security cameras in the museums are still online. In a way, I think it's a reverse situation. Our civilization becomes alien, and we exchange places. The protagonist is trying to connect with it. We become aliens for him, as now AGI is an alien entity for us. But then the questions that it's going to ask in this new world are the same questions that we've been asking ourselves for a long time, but everything changes then when the one who's asking is different. Will it recognize its own existence? Will it be able to define itself? Will it be able to break the code of our language? And if yes, will the artificial mind use it to construct an experience of his own or appropriate our own experience? or interpret it in a different way and reveal something that we've never suspected about our world? From our point of view, will it become mad? Will it choose a gender? Will it be a he or she? What's his perception of the world will be like? Will it recognize in our works its own description? What kind of experience will be primal for him? Electronic currents, maybe. But if it will exist, will it be able to infer from this experience and build from scratch a consciousness of its own? Or something radically different from ours? So, methodology-wise, when you merge artistic practice with research, I think all these questions provide a base for different narratives. Any of these questions could be spun into a story. It's a lot of different paths to take. So, how it resolves itself in my artistic practice is that I used one of these paths to write a trilogy of video works called Some Entropy in UT. This work is shown in a screening room in A065 for today, I think. And it consists of 2 videos overall, 10 minutes in duration. You're very welcome to go and see it and find me after. Tell me what you think. So in the first part of my work, which is titled Some Entropy in UT, the artificial mind only tries to disentangle itself from the mass of data we left behind. It starts with mimicking human consciousness. It imagines itself having seen or having loved a person. It goes through the archive images. In complete absence of humanity, tries to reconnect to it. It tries to talk to us. It weighs out the experience of war, love. It looks at our digital age, our ability to see. In the second part, it starts to recognize its own existence as something different from a human being. It looks for itself in the mass of knowledge inherited from us and finds it in a short story by Borges titled Aleph. That's where the title of the work comes from. It experiences or imitates perfectly emotions we have no way to tell. Its own loneliness, one in the empty world, alone, nostalgia or longing for the world it could never experience, fascination for mortality, which is unknown to him, and for the ways humanity overcame it by creating things that lasted more than one human's lifespan. The way I tried to resolve a problem of unimaginability of AI was through language. So another quote about Lacan: "Anarchy in that speech originates not in the ego, not even in the subject, but in the other." Lacan is stressing that speech and language are beyond one's conscious control. They come from another place, outside consciousness, and hence the unconscious is the discourse of the other. Following that, the text in the videos is primarily a poetic text, where metaphors and cultural references are used to create a feeling of depth and interconnectedness, an experience of partial perception of the meaning that's slipping through our hands as the picture of the world is slipping through this AGI's consciousness, and the impossibility to pin it down. Throughout the text, I used the short metaphors that would help us to reimagine some concepts that we are used to. Well, that's how metaphors work. They punch a hole in our perception and we see for a second a whole new world through this hole. Flowers are just explosions in a very slow motion. Our world is a blind driver. Cemeteries are libraries. When the internet appeared, the time stopped. Well, in conclusion, this is a method situated halfway between a lot of wonderful people, starting with Wittgenstein and the Surrealist bunch and Noam Chomsky. But I think at this stage of my research, the video represents a poetic truth. and I hope to ground it more in different fields that it obviously needs to connect to, like cognitive linguistics or some very dangerous and unknown words that are kind of now branched out and not connected. And following this idea of David Deutsch, maybe philosophy and a breakthrough in philosophy would be the glue to connect all of this together. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Yes, I'll be presenting this paper. I'm Teresa. Gabi is not here. She's the co-author of this paper, and maybe at this point in time more related to arts and humanities than I am, and I'll tell you why. This is actually a cross-disciplinary project. We've been working together. We're both based at Culture Lab in Newcastle, but I'm part of the Digital Interaction Group, which is more of an HCI, human-computer interaction research group. And Gabriela, she's in the digital media group that focus more on digital media, digital arts. But what brought us together was my current PhD project. It's an ongoing project, and what I'll show you today is actually a part of what I've been working on. And how Gabriela is actually also taking part of it to her PhD project, and how the work that's been kind of evolving ended up at an exhibition that she curated called Betagrams a couple months ago. So I'll be talking a little bit about what this project is and where it's at this point in time. And as you might have seen from the title, it's related to women's health. So my broader topic of research is health and well-being, and it might be a bit different from the previous presentations, and I might be more on the computing part of things. Hopefully not. You can tell me later. My broad topic of research is intimate care within this field of human-computer interaction. So I'm trying to design digital technologies that promote well-being related to female pelvic fitness. And the way I've been doing that, I've been looking at the way current medical devices or current ways of learning about the body, different technologies available to us to learn about the body and how to maintain, repair the body, how we experience them, and how we can improve that experience, and also ways of creating awareness that this is something that needs to be thought about and taken care of. I'm skipping something. So I've been using a combination of methods to explore body literacy in intimate care, the relation of body knowledge with better understanding of medical devices, and the challenges of prototyping bodily-centered technologies. And I'll start by showing you a few images of a project that I worked on, or I'm still working the past few months. And I designed a kit for exploring body literacy in intimate care with women of all ages, as I'm thinking about intimate care as something that occurs throughout the life course. And what I mean with intimate care is there's no exact definition unless we're under the age of 17, or at least that's the policy that I found so far. Intimate care includes personal hygiene, bodily functions, and bodily products. So I've run a series of workshops with women or young women from ages of 15 to the ages of 52. And I had a kit that is a female pelvic floor with the pelvic floor muscles, and it's designed as a sewing pattern, and one of the activities in that workshop was to actually assemble or see it on the inside out and assemble that pelvic floor and actually realize while cutting and assembling it the way it looks, and have a discussion around it so that later on I could use that data. And this was an e-textile kit. It's an electronic textile kit. So it had to be assembled in a certain way, so the correct way. This is a scientific illustration of a female pelvic floor. and which later had to be assembled on a pair of panties. That's the image on the left. So again, they had to understand where it sits, how big it is, what it looks like, and talk about it. And because it was connected the right way, it was a wearable e-textile that, which in the end, there was a little wearable electronics with a few LEDs that go up and down. They do light up for a certain time, and they don't light up for a certain time. And this all happened after we saw a video, and I explained what the pelvic floor exercises are all about. So this was a way of finding a way to visualize something that it's very intimate and it's very invisible. It's not tangible. We don't really have access to, and it's not really easy to understand whether it's being performed the right way or not. It's not measuring or reading anything real time. It was more of just a way of creating awareness of something that most of these women never heard about before, independently of whether they had children or not. And I know in the UK it's very common for women after children, they're told to actually perform this kind of exercise. So there was one part, it was the initial, it's part of a process of discovery and discovering that we as women or people in general don't know much about this subject. And one of the other things that I'm doing, which is the main focus of this paper actually, is a project called Pelvics, which involves, again, the same part of the body, but in this case, something more ethnographic and more related to current medical devices that are available in the market that can be used by women independently or together with a physician, with a physiotherapy if they do go to a women's health. They need assistance from a women's health expert. Almost. So, and the way I'm thinking about the project is how to improve or how to design technologies that can promote preventative health practice, as in many cases, women know about this issue after they actually have a problem. So, and then there's different ways to actually prevent the problem from happening. And I started by doing some research at the local hospital, at the hospital in Newcastle, with a physiotherapist there, and just to get an idea of different medical devices that I used. And also to understand what women patients and also the clinician, what they think about them and what they think about the experience of both receiving and getting the treatment. And at this part of this work, I'm pretty much looking at materiality and concepts of touch, as in how objects touch the body, or how someone else touches your body with or without those medical devices, and thinking about alternatives to what's existing, what's out there, and how this technology or the knowledge that we have of the body as of today, aided by all these technologies that are more and more, all these emerging technologies, see how to improve this there's an experiential present. Think about how we can turn this to an experiential future. So use materiality and ideas of esteem, empathy, touch, and programmable matter to make these interactions better. And just a few examples, been looking through art, design, technology, products and ideas, concepts of products, and I just show you a few. I just found this one the other day, and I thought it was really interesting. It's just a 3D rendering, but because we think about the pelvic floor muscles as a corset, as a muscle or corset, I found interesting. There was also like a armor for these other internal organs that are not. Oh, okay. That we can't touch either. They're not. Sorry, I have my papers like whoa. So yeah, these are not. They're problematized by touch and visibility, but the ones that I'm working with, they're also problematized by touch, and they're very intimate. just looking into design and alternatives to what's out there, put out there by the industries, and what's prescribed by doctors and costs a lot of money, money that a lot of women don't have to actually pay for such a device. Ronan Kadushin, a designer, an industrial designer, created or designed this IUD intrauterine device as an open design. So it's actually, it's 3D printed, and the file is available, and women can customize it and can download it, can print it for themselves. It's a political concept project. You're not supposed to actually use it, but as an idea, that, yeah, so it's not really out there in the market. It's not advisable at your own risk, but just to bring awareness that there's a monopoly of, the industry does have the monopoly of these devices, and that maybe new technologies or technologies as 3D printing can actually be an alternative to safeguard your health. And health, public health, sexual health, it's related to as in touch as in pleasure. These medical devices can also be related to sexual health, and this is a concept from the early 2000s, and I can't remember the name. It's there, Tonita Albaita, I think somewhere in California. It's just a concept, so again, a product that it's not out there, but she was envisioning or thinking about a piece of underwear that had a condom included with it, so like that, different things could be combined at the same time. So I found that quite interesting, and this is just more out there related to cervix screening, an alternative to the all women know the speculum. So this is a device that is in use in different countries. I couldn't find it in the UK, not yet. I contacted them. But it's, they claim it women-friendly because it doesn't require to go either to a doctor, you can do it yourself, and it's a different configuration that is not as terrible. So that said, this part of the project called Pelvics included definitely taking some ethnographic notes directly from from practice, from the hospital. And what I was looking, and where the research is at right now, is that I did that kind of ethnographic research to kind of find places or the gaps where I could actually do some work, some design-related work, and also to inform that practice so that in the end I can have maybe more than a concept, not necessarily a product, at least throughout the duration of the PhD, but something that maybe something that can be accessible for different women. And I've run a workshop, so it's been pretty much, and that's where Gabriella's work kind of intersects with mine. I've been looking into critical and speculative design as ways of exploring these different possibilities for future experiences. And I've run this workshop with a few women artists, designers, technologists. And my aim was that it was a collaborative speculation. So I had a series of different medical devices that I used for the purposes of taking care of the pelvic area. And the idea was to, from those, to come up with reflection and discussion, possible designs that I could later on start implementing and then, again, test with some women. And also we tried and hack or change perceptions of what these objects do. So there was a little bit of exploring these biomedical technologies and look at the materials they're made of and think about alternatives to those materials that could be more friendly to use. And right now I'm looking at the future of these medical products, how to redesign them and how to give them different meanings, new affordances. And just to wrap it up, the exhibition that brought us together, so from that workshop, I did some embroideries with some of the ideas that came out of it, comparisons between the speculum and the Cinderella slipper, and ideas on how to take care of the pelvic floor incontinence issues by doing some gene-based diagnosis. So again, preventative practices. Take care of the problem before it's too late to take care of the problem. And yeah, this is just a detail of something that was said. And I showed all these devices and the embroideries in this exhibition that Gabriela curated. And I just want to finish reading what she's saying about it. So sometimes it's difficult to actually explain to some people why we're doing or why we're combining digital art and health technology, since I'm doing more kind of science computation and she's doing digital art. But okay, am I finished? Okay, yeah, I'm done.
Okay.
But so just to say, she was exploring the idea of prototype and critical speculative design, and the work kind of seemed like it go well together, and this is another detail, and thank you so much.
Good afternoon. We appreciate the support from the DRHA team. So it's a pleasure to take part in this conference. We are very excited. Unfortunately, it wasn't possible to travel, but we are with you in a digital form. So, in our studies, we consider that's better to change the title, which is now Digital Dance in the Context of Abuse. Me, Natália Ribeiro, and Ana Carolina Vignani, we shall make this dialogue between capital art and science. As a first contribution, we bring the thought of William Flusser. Flusser deals specifically with the photography. However, his observations are quite significant for building of the critical thinking. He talks about the use of technology. His thinking can be extended to any kind of art like a digital dance. Following this thought, the artistic creation becomes limited for what the machine was pre-programmed in its manufacture. Therefore, the artist can create from a poetic model a way of predetermined organization. The apparatus gives unique possibilities. The capture and projections, for example, of images that are widely used in digital dance can also be included in the observation of Flusser. He believes that the possibility of choice is illusory. People believe they have a choice that causes the feelings of creativity and freedom, but these two are limited by the action of a software, or better, by the pre-programmed set of possibilities and that cannot be fully dominated. The action is performed from the data that the software provides. This theory proposes critical discussion about the possibilities of freedom and capacity of invention of a society increasingly programmed and centralized by technology. Stephen Dixon warns about some issues the pyramid, art and technology. then is allow participation of artists in the creation and programming of digital technological devices that are used in artistic creation. This practice also has its origin in the lack of technological knowledge of the operation codes of that programs. It requires time and dedication and other complex studies. And what happened with most artists is an adaptation to commercial programs that underlie its creation to the previously established software. Most of these programs are paid. There is a processing platform too that is free, but it requires specific studies. We believe in the possibility of art to transmutate it. So the transmutation that art carries, we got to see artists and programmers work together, or artists who are programmers. How I form, Structurality, Isadora Polindromy, and Icon, and then Lydia Cordeiro, Brazilian artist. So many artists produced works with these softwares. Some people support the notion that the digital dance is genre of life, body and humanity, or that the relationship with technology limits freedom and artistic creation. We do not believe in that. In the digital dance, own power of views came through approximation of studies of term according to that Italian theorist Roberto Esposito promotes extensive research, the biopolitics, a politic in the name of life. When the author puts the word life, it is not only tied under the natural or physical aspect, but also means cultural life. For this, we propose the digital dance videos and dance, the dance that considers and subjective life that is its process, powering this life as the subject of actions. We understand that it is subjective because in form of digital expression of dance, the presence of the subject is always constant. So it's not visible to the public on its display. The technological apparatus is created and programmed by humans. In addition, in the dance software, the virtual dance dolls to be generate recurring information obtained from the tattoo of a human body. The apparatus that uses the digital dance in his poetic are shared in everyday life, not only of the artist. These are technologies inserted in almost all lives, not outside of them. The static configuration that arise when artists dialogue with the technologies are like that what they provoke and wish to express. The digital dance, as well as other dancers, can be a dance that respects the life, because at least in the creation it was produced by a human relationship with digital technology, which in many instances go through their life in the same routine needs and enablers. The technological apparatus could be considered a device or access of biopower. And life is submitted to the command of police. When Flusser warns us that there is a limit to operate on limit and illusory freedom, this apparatus has a pure design program that is in a market approach to standardize the operation and the results of its use. Desert technology are in these relations where one crosses another and further provide other possibilities for experimentation. So, Esposito takes a thought of Foucault, warning that where here is power, there is resistance. This is part of the dynamic of power, existence. At the same time, while it's free to exercise and power, there is also the possibility of establishing in opposition to it. That's why the discovery of the forms of subversion of biopower access there is posed by technological industry of apparatus is used in the life and artistic creation. We understand that when he suggests that the dancer must find his own technique, this means that each artist has his own poetics, even if the dancer is trained in various techniques and use technological devices, even if he resumes to some old technique, as is seen in some contemporary works. The way in what he will make his associations, how he will organize the aesthetic elements, these are ways to differentiate. This is also a power of abuse. So, thank you for all, and goodbye.
One maybe slightly also broad question, but which may be, could you, are you typing? Or are you still trying to get online?
I'm just trying to get to the people because they gave me the wrong name.
All right. Well, maybe I can start off chatting, and then maybe once they're on, we can catch up with them. So what did strike me in all four papers is that there seemed to be always a concern with ethics and ideology in conjunction with digital technologies, particularly digital technologies. Maybe your paper diverges from this starts to diverge from that a bit. But what I would like to ask, maybe first, for all of you to hone in a little bit in that area, to actually maybe say a bit more about what are these ethical concerns we're dealing with, or what might the issues be of these technologies that you deal with. But what I'm ultimately interested in, and I think that's of concern to this whole conference, is there really a specific logic of digital technologies that informs the ways in which these ideologies and ethical issues are established and perpetuated? Or is this actually the same thing and now it's with digital technology? So in other words, are we talking about the same stuff that we were talking about in the 60s with television and in 1850 with the steam engine? And I think that, because I think what I kind of heard, and maybe I understood it wrong, is that there is a kind of assumption that there is something very special about these digital technologies, and I'm quite interested in what that might be. So maybe we can do a little round and then open it up. Who wants to start? Or nobody, do you know? Sure, I'll pass you the microphone. I think you can just drag it.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, just drag it over the floor.
Okay.
Sturdy stuff.
I like that you touched upon ideology, but I think that maybe it's the wrong word to describe it, because I really think that's the right word would be to use neuroses or fears, as I mentioned before. The difference between what is happening now and what was happening when the tape cassette came on and when the television appeared is the speed of it, right? And I think that's the main difference, that when the speed is so high, the quantitative, is that the right word? Quantitative changes become qualitative, in a way.
I'd like to add to that by saying, on the one sense, you asked, are these ethical concerns of the digital, are they specific to the digital and are they of this moment? I would agree that yes, they are in their totalizing discourse, but there is also a timeless element to this relationship, this ontology, the self, the other, but also the animate and inanimate self, the relationship. So the really strong connection I saw between all our papers was about machines, I mean conceptual machines in the Deleuzean sense, as well as literal machines. You were talking about both conceptual and Deleuzean ideas machines. But I thought that your paper really connected up. I mean, we had a wonderful instance of pussy power. And how many of us were all doing our Kegel exercises as you were? It was like, I can do the lift.
I have a work with a pelvic floor exercise thing for men, which goes up the anus. But that's another story. That's beyond pussy power, I guess. So continue.
Ah, the dark threshold. The rectum is a grave. Do you remember that one? Leo Bersani. But yes, but I thought that was wonderful because it actually brought a sense of embodiment and lived. And the fact that we were all... You were doing the practice of philosophy. You were talking most explicitly about philosophy, but as you say, there was this strong ethical sense of doing things, of getting one's hands dirty, or not dirty, not in the sense of... but that sense of doing things. So what I was trying to talk about was taking writing out off the page. And so not just in the sense of digitally, but also in the sense of socially. So that's what I wanted to say. I'll let
Yeah, well, I guess the way I see the work that I was talking about in relation to ethics is that as our knowledge of going back to the body, as it develops those devices that we're talking about that we use for these purposes, they should also, I'm looking into ways that they also develop together with that knowledge. And there's, that's it.
So it's about new kinds of knowledge, and that is what we're trying to talk about.
Using technology to develop our knowledge, not just for the sake of using the technology.
Also the new kinds of people that this new knowledge and technology is making us, because...
Keep passing.
Sorry. Well, I think it's your turn, really. I think it's kind of...
Finish the thought.
No, finished. Well, thinking about these objects or these technologies as ever evolving, just as our bodies are, they're not fixed. So the objects can't be fixed either. They need to be adaptable.
Yeah. And I really like that in your work there was this explicit attention on the human and technological kind of connection when the bodies meet, because it's very poignant problem actually. I mean, people are scared of this usually, but here it's used in such a healthy way, let's say.
Not always healthy. I mean, you had her up on the screen, and there's the whole sex with machines.
That's brilliant scene.
All right, shall we open it up for...
Let's open it up for any questions or
Oh, you can take
Kegel exercises.
Anybody?
Well, actually, you need to lie on the floor, don't you, to get your elevation? If you're doing Pilates, which is the pelvic strength.
Oh, what with all the pearls in the jewel box?
Oh, my work is standing. But of course I have a different pelvic floor, I guess.
No, standing, sitting, lying down, anytime, day and night, we should be doing Kegel exercises.
Isn't there another question of ethics, because you are trying to work with and design artifacts which would suggest that you're kind of writing in a different knowledge of yourself in a way?
Yes.
Repeat the
There's
question.
some kind of medical expert who's providing a product which is more of a sort of laboratory, isolated development rather than the kind of prototypes you're
Yes, so there's
relationship
there's definitely an overlap between these medical devices and all paraphernalia of sex toys. The two different industries, even though they start overlapping now, there's some new devices coming out, which is interesting because sex toys industries are known for having a more developed sense of materiality. They use better or more supposedly compared to the plastic products that the pelvic floor exercisers, as prescribed by doctors, kind of look like. So, but you want to add to that?
Well, actually, there's a particular range of peritone, these devices, and they're actually sold in sex shops. There's companies who just buy these devices, put them in different wrappers, and sell them for 4 or 5 times as much. But I think actually sex toys, the whole sex toy industry is, I would say, in terms of design particularly, very much behind. You know, all these vibrators with these awkward buttons. You know, you press, and then it's off, and then it starts again. And like, actually, I don't really agree with that the sex toy industry is really far ahead. It's actually very conservative. I know.
Why do they always make such a noise?
Well, anyway, this is getting off topic.
It's still about machines and bodies, I guess.
Yes.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think I would look there also. But any other questions or comments?
Maybe on memory machines.
There. Maybe I'll just pass the microphone to the question person.
Not as exciting like sex toys, but still. Yeah, I have 2 questions. The first one is to Alex. Yeah, we kind of like started this discussion before, but basically it's like I'm really curious about your definition of madness on this point, in a way that when we speak about madness, it's kind of like nowadays it's really normal to be mad, like with all the disorders, like, I don't know, attention deficit disorder and like all the rest. Like what would be like the, I don't know how to say, the measurement of madness for the IE? Measurement? I don't know, like measurement. And yeah, like the third part would be like kind of like, because you say the third part will be about madness, so maybe you can speak about that a bit.
Thanks. So, in that sense, I think you were right when you described madness as a concept that is normal to be mad right now. Madness is something that humans thought of to separate the normal from abnormal, and abnormal people meaning people who can get in the way of normal people, to put it very rudely. So, but in my work, in the third video, I think the protagonist will become mad because, from our point of view, his system of logic will be completely different from ours. So there is no, actually, I think there is no proof that mental disease is a disease, actually. It's just that the brain functions differently. but we put it on the label of a disease because it's convenient. So in the same way that Foucault talks about it, the artificial intelligence will just be mad because for us it will be not, we will not be able to understand it. That's it, with different logic.
Another short one. I can just speak without microphone.
No.
Yeah, to Aleph. I really like I kind of like grabbed this trinity of like notions you put together, like assassin, archivist, and detective. Can you please tell more about it?
I was when I made the work Memory in the Dead Zone, I was wanting to do something autobiographical, and I sort of wanted to make it autoethnographical. But if you've read any autoethnographical literature, it tends towards the confessional in a way that I personally, I don't have a problem with it, but I personally find difficult. You know, like, I'm going to now tell you my cancer story or my heartbreak. And I wanted to distance myself, so I used theory as my creative starting point, my metaphors of machines, of mirrors, of the screen. So I was, explicitly working with Freud and Deleuze and Guattari. And with this trialectics with Lefebvre, I was really trying to work with the sense of trialectics. So these were often actually my they were my map. A lot of those words were my map and my palimpsest. And the archivist, the assassin, and the detective are my three alter egos in my creative work and in my purely theoretical work. And I'm positing that we are all those things in our attempts to research.
Thank you. There's a question. I'll give you everything. And then I'll take.
Cool. I was curious about the performance and how it, I think I understand the objects that are created and the film. Is there projection happening on you physically performing? And then, you said that you're performing it again soon. Could you tell us a little bit about how that happens?
Thank you for your interest. I wanted to create a performance where I could engage with this archive. Particularly, you saw that notebook with the sort of Arabic writing that was made out of a magazine. That was actually my great-grandfather was imprisoned by the Brits during the First World War in Cyprus. And that was one of the jailers had given him a copy of the war pictorial, and he had written in the margins. And in those days, Turks wrote in Arabic script. So it's actually unreadable to me because now Turkish is written in a different script even. So I had all these different bits like home movies, this thing, things I'd written. I had this archive of stuff that I wanted to both make into an autobiographical performance, but I also wanted to feel like an assemblage, to feel bitty, not to have a unified thing. So in terms of practice, I made a performance that could be reasonably easy to do anywhere. And so it's a very simple performance that uses projection onto screens with the metaphor of the screen and projection too, and domestic environments. So it starts, I come in with a suitcase, which I then kind of transform into a television, project onto the television. I then turn that into a washing line, project on the washing line. I then get behind that, so there's a strange thing that I'm really there, but you can't see me, and use a laptop camera. So that bit you saw is quite strange because it looks like you're seeing through the tablecloth, but actually what you're seeing is me using the camera. And then you see my little feet at the bottom, whereas my face looks really quite big. So it's an attempt to play with intimacy and projection, with live transmission and a sense of the recorded. And it's kind of a work in progress because I've done it in different spaces. I'm a little nervous about the Queen's house because that makes it in the round. And there's an upstairs too. But it's a round projection, but I don't want it to look spectacular, because one of the things I want to do is to build dialogic writing, to workshop these things so that we all produce, different collective memories that we can add to a performance, or I can enable you to do yours. So it's a bit of a utopian idea for a Sunday afternoon.
Oh, a beautiful afternoon. Is there another question? Or we have even time for more than one. But if there are no more questions, then we can enjoy a short break, because it's actually only 22 minutes until your keynote starts. So, right? Or, well, I don't know. Maybe you'll start a bit late. But once more, many thanks to the speakers. So I'll give them applause.